And we are live. Oh, I forgot. I have to post it as well. Let's do this real quick. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Well, I don't know if there's anyone yet, but let's get this started. Okay. So I'm working on a game for the Godot 3 Game Jam, and this one is all about throwing fireballs and things like these. Boom, 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 boom. It's taking a lot of the work I've done on the course and creating a small game demo from that. That's going to be open source as it's part of the game in this little game jam. And let's see if I can get the chat on my phone. Go to my channel, videos, playlist, community. How do I access the live stream from this app? I'd like to get the chat here, because otherwise I have to switch windows all the time. There you go. I should be able to... Okay, I'll stop the video and... Quick message. Okay, so now I have the chat on my phone. And let's look at the game. So the idea is to play with visual effects, to have a character that can throw fireballs and have a few fire-based attacks. So let's look at the first prototype. For the first day, I'm going to work on a prototype that I call the toy in this case. It's about getting the core gameplay loop and the feel of the character about right. So our character is going to have a few attacks. It can throw small and large fireballs. So to throw a large fireball, you hold the click down and it's going to be a bit more powerful. For now, it looks pretty close to the first fireball, but it's a little faster. It's going to deal more damage. You have a flamethrower that's going to be on right click. That slows down the character. It damages enemies in an arc. And you have a radiate attack that's going to emit fire all around the character. And if you hold it for long enough, the character explodes and inflicts a lot of damage in an area around him at a cost. So the idea, and that's where the theme comes in, is that you have to manage your temperature in the game. So you throw these strong fire attacks, but all the time it tends to make your temperature go up. As it goes up, you can catch on fire and take periodic damage. So if you want to chain lots of attacks, like throw lots of fireballs, for example, on a boss or something, you can do it at a cost. And the explode attack is you basically take your temperature very high and you make your character explode. Boom, boom, kaboom, baby. You know the drill. I'll leave the video playing, I guess. Otherwise, it tends to turn the screen off. Or does it work if I do this? There's a question from Indie Development Labs. How do I figure what kind of game I should make around the theme? It's a little hard to say just like that without much context. I basically went out for a walk thinking about what I could do with temperature. And I was thinking about different things like making a game around the heat of the sun or something like that, because it's pretty hot lately in Japan. It's hard to say. You can find many sources of inspiration. I recommend looking up the term and based on your skills trying to find, more constraints that you can apply to your project. For example, you don't know how to work with collisions and you want to do that, try to have something that's like I did, so about fire, throwing fireballs or something like that, that's loosely related to temperature, or making things catch on fire or something like that. Based on a feature you want to learn with the engine, you can work that way. That's one way to do it. But my way to do that is to try to think of some ideas. So I was thinking about a game about ecology, for example, a game about having a character that's really anxious about talking to people, and he has to manage his inner temperature, so it's about self-control. So as you approach people, the heat of the character goes up, and you have to approach some people in your life, but he's very anxious, and you have to manage the temperature, so you have to find places to have the character breathe. It was a little too abstract, and I personally can't afford to do that at the moment, as I got lots of work. So, you know, I wanted to have a concept that is related to the Godot course and tutorials I'm working on for you guys and the demos. And so something about attacks, top-down games, I have to work on shaders and things like these. So playing with fire is a good thing, right? Hold on, I have someone messaging me at the same time. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. All right, so we have a test scene here where I just isolate the fireballs. Right now it's called Fireball Thrower, but that's going to be the base input manager system. It's going to be the player's weapon, essentially. To start with, it's only throwing fireball, but next I'm working on the Flamethrower. So for the Flamethrower, I think I can reuse my fireball, right? Yeah, it just doesn't emit in a cone, but I'm going to create a new scene, call it Flamethrower. And this is the fireball. Okay, opening the Flamethrower here. Okay, and move it to a new folder called Flamethrower. So I'm trying to keep my project organized from the start, because if you don't, it always costs you. Also, congratulations on expanding the GD Quest party to include a big dev. Actually, there are a few persons working so part-time at GD Quest, and slowly I have some savings, a little bit. So the sales from the course, now I'm using them to have other people work on videos. So you've seen videos by Guilherme. So no one is full-time, it's just a few hours a week. Everyone is busy with their own projects, but you know, I'm trying to have some more people on board, because doing everything alone is time-consuming, right? Okay, so the Flamethrower, this one is going to be a directional particle system, like that, so it's already the case with the fireball. And then I wanted to emit forward, so in this one it's going to have a smaller spread, maybe 80 degrees, like that, and we're going to have a large initial velocity. It's a little too much. The Flamethrower is going to slow down the character and hit enemies in a cone in front of you. This is a little too big, because you can really rotate around, and yeah, I think that's a little too much. Spread, so let's go back to 30 degrees. Okay, so we're going to have something like that. Have random scale, maybe not as random, fewer particles. So normally I wouldn't work with graphics so much from the start, but it turns out I had some particle systems to work with. So that's why I'm working with particles from the very start. Okay, works a little better if you keep the particle's velocity. No. And the spread, even then, it's a little too big. Yeah, and a cone in front of the character like that, because you can rotate the attack, so you really want the particles to go forward. Now the big question is, I'm using the particle's speed to visually see how the attack is going to work. I think this is not too bad. Yeah, seems about right. Before I start working on emitting some spheres that are going to damage the enemies. So the way the flamethrower is going to work is you're going to have some area 2Ds that get spawned from the flamethrower. But I start with the particles because it's very easy to visually get a sense for how I'm going to emit these colliders. And then I'm going to add the colliders in a moment. For the flamethrower, do I want sparkles? Let's see. We're going to remove the gravity, make you directional as well. Slightly wider cone. Are these directional? Yeah. They are not rotating with the parent. They are at an offset from the parent. So let's see if we add some sparkles here as well. Need a large initial velocity. Yeah, okay. Looks better already with the small debris that you get from these sparkles. I'm gonna play a little. Crap. Hey, what's happening here? Is the sound okay, by the way? Okay, I've been working on the fireball material, and that's pretty bad, because now it means if I go back to my fireball, yeah, look at what happens. Okay, I'm going to try and salvage the situation to the best of my ability. So you're gonna be flamethrower. And let's see if I can restore. Okay, so I could restore the fireball material. So the fireball should really be saved as fireball material. Let's see. Okay. Now I have my flamethrower that's going to use its flamethrower material. Okay. Alright, seems to be working fine. Let's reload the fireball scene. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it's working. Okay. Okay, great to know the sound is good. I'm going to stream for as much as I can, 2 hours, something like that, after which I'll cook something. But there's also, I have 7 roommates now living here. I don't have an office, so it's a little hard at times to make it to manage to stream and all. That's why I can't do them on a regular basis and can't really announce them, because like 2 hours ago there was my roommate just right next to me here. You know, not that it's a big deal, to be fair. It's life is good here, but yeah. Okay, let's make the material unique, and we're going to remake the tiny sparkles. Reset the rotation on all particles. So the tiny sparkles, we want no gravity or little gravity. Let's go with 200, just a little bit, but a lot of velocity to push them forward, and less spread, obviously, because otherwise they tend to go in all directions. Now, how about the scale? Do we make you larger to get a bit of a lava effect like that? Let's see, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the random velocity lower, particles have to be projected in front. How about no gravity then? It doesn't change much, right? Okay, I guess it's good enough to start with. So, Flamethrower. Emitting lots of particles. So what time is it in Japan? It's 11:30, so 11:35 to be a little more precise. Okay, so we have the Flamethrower particle effect. I'm going to add the radiate particle effect as well. So radiate fire. For now, all the effects will be very similar and modifying. So it's all based on this cloud sprite. And later you want to change that. Maybe it'd be nice to add some heating distort wave with a shader or something like that. But to start with, I just want to get the base feel of a Flamethrower, the base feel of the game, gets the main loop working, and polishing will come at the end of the jam if there's any time for it. But the focus anyway for me is to have relatively clean code and project organization, because it's going to be open source after the jam, and the idea is to open the project to contributions, to open some tasks, issues, and start to have anyone who wants, working together. I'll do some review as well, review work. So radiate fire. We're going to, I guess, duplicate the Flamethrower resources. Okay, so duplicate this, so I can call it radiate fire. Move you to the radiate fire folder, and I'm going to create a new process material, right? Make it unique to the scene, because we need on this one to radiate the fire like that. And with a smaller velocity. Okay, for this one, I'm going to use. It's snapping, right? And same thing here, 180, smaller velocity. Okay, so this is going to be the radiate fire effect for now, and we can always, it's a little too fast and violent, I feel. Increase the lifetime to slow down the particles a little bit. More particles, make the particles larger as well. Let's see. And tiny sparkles. Wonder if a fountain spray effect towards the top would be better. Let's see. I think it's fine as it is. Let's just make them slower. Okay, and we've got our radiating fire effect. All fine and dandy. So I have all the effects for the different attacks. Yeah, in the game dev lab, interesting idea. So the sun. Let's see, I don't have the webcam on. I forgot about that, right? Let's see, do I have add video capture device? I guess I don't have any. Did I forget that? Okay, want to get the USB camera and hello. I'm gonna put my head, make it much smaller in a corner of the screen where it's not too disturbing. So down around here, and yeah, my webcam is here on the computer side, so it's a little weird. There's some deformation in there. Can you just tell me if the webcam is okay? Yeah, I made the materials unique before editing them, don't worry. Anyway, when you save as a new scene, the new, like if they're not external, if you didn't save them as external resources, the new materials become bound to the scene. So hi Sekurus and hi Mariano as well. All right, so back to the fireball thrower. For now we have fireball big. We're going to have okay, so the fireball scene, there's a fireballs scene that has the fireball with the like base fireball scene with some collider. So it's an area 2D that moves in front of the character. And it spawns an explosion when it hits something like a wall at the moment. Then we're going to have some new weapon scenes. So let's create new folders. We want Flamethrower and Radiate Fire. It's another attack in the game. Oh, I renamed something. Did I? What did I do? Weapons, Radiate. Ah, crap. Sorry. Okay, so rename back to Fireball. And it's going to crash. Yeah. Sometimes it crashes when you try to rename folder with nested subfolders with a scene open in particular, as it tries to solve all the dependencies. Okay, but normally it's still Fireball, Flamethrower, and I want Radiate Fire. And I have to move my Flamethrower and Radiate Fire out of there. So let's move Flamethrower there, Radiate Fire there, and rename you as Particles. Okay. So good for this one. Flamethrower. Good. Works fine. All right. So let's now create our weapon scenes. I'm going to duplicate my fireball for that. Call it Flamethrower. There's going to be a lot of name repetition in here, but let's use that. So call you Flamethrower. Remove the fireball from here and instantiate our Flamethrower. I can actually rename that Particles 2D or Particles. So now with Flamethrower, It's going to not use on body entered. It's an area. It doesn't need to be an area. Our flamethrower is going to be a position 2D, I guess. Even a node 2D is fine. So the flamethrower is something that emits area 2Ds in this case. So it shouldn't have a collision shape, but it should have some area 2D as a child. So this one is gonna be a damager, moving damager. I should have some damager nodes somewhere. Do I have something like that in the actors? Let's see. No, I don't have any, so we're going to create that. I'll create a base damager, and I should have some... I have a damage source script to start with. Let's give this a try. So at the top of the weapons, I'm gonna create a new script called damager area. Let's see, something like that. It's going to inherit from damage source. Do I need... maybe I don't need a script for that. I just need a scene. So let's have you with collision shape 2D. We're going to give you a circle to hit enemies. Make it a little larger by default. Something along those lines. So the way it's going to work is the node is going to spawn damager that have a start direction based on the flamethrower's rotation, and the damager is going to move forward in a line until it disappears after a few moments. So when it reaches the end of the particle effect, the flamethrower node may have some script to sync the particle's velocity and the damager's maximum move distance and lifetime. So we can add something like that later, but to start with, it's going to be a simple damage source like that. So I have a script that's a base interface for everything that's going to damage anyone in the game. For now, it has only two properties, so a damage property and an effect if you want to apply burn, poison, or something like that. And each of the weapon is like an area 2D that has some damage value, and that's only going to be on a layer, in this case area damager or weapon, for example, and it's just detected by other area 2D, so it doesn't mask anything. Instancing colliders inside a unique area 2D should work too. Okay, so you can also only move the collider shape instead of creating the damagers. So that's one way to do it. How should I do that? Okay, so instead I can have a basic damager node, and then instead of this static collision shape 2D, I can have moving colliders, moving collision shape. Okay, it's a bit verbose, but let's do this. So the damager is going to be a very basic node. Let's save you as a scene. So I'll put you in the weapons folder. This is my damager scene. And moving collision circle is going to be another scene. All right. And the base damager will not have it. Base damager doesn't have a collision shape, but I can add my moving collision circle as an instance in the flamethrower to only have that. Yeah, I'm going to do it manually this way, so it's going to have to okay, so damager will need another script. Wait. with a export backteen okay, we can try this like that. Let's see. Okay, so not the best thing to start with, but let's try it this way. So I want to do it in this way. Have a collision shape. Slot. No. Making it too complicated for myself, so damager. And this one is going to be my damager shape spawner. So this one is going to have that slot to spawn the moving collision circle and initialize it. You need the collisions as direct children, right? If I do this, yeah, you need the colliders as direct children, so let's do this. So this one is going to instantiate collision shapes, moving circle, and the moving collision circle is going to have its own script. Okay, so I'll have. Is it going to? It's going to rotate with the parent if I'm not careful. So, right now, let me move you forwards. If I rotate the flamethrower, yeah, everything rotates with it. So, either the damager spawner should be top level. Yeah, okay. So I set this as top level or the moving collision circles. Well, I guess the individual circles. So you're going to be top level nodes, meaning they move on their own. They spawn at the parent. No, they don't spawn on the parent if you do that. Right? Hold on. Let's try to do that. Tool. Okay. Okay, let's make you a top level node. I'm going to close all that and go back to our flamethrower. Now, if I, yeah, here's the problem. If I do that, so I can do that on, I should really do that on the individual collision circles. You guys are going to be top level. Get parent dot global position and you're going to have a direction in turn. So the parent is going to turn with the flamethrower, meaning we can directly set the direction to get parent dot rotation and what's the name of the property? Hold on. Yeah, it's just rotation, right? The rotation, hold on, I want to make a vector so I need to use item 2, right? No, it's for the arctangent. Hold on. Warning, you are setting global position into Marino, no problem. When you set an object as top level, I should just invert the 2 lines, but the position becomes global. So I can write global position equals get parent.global position just for clarity, but it's going to do the same thing. It's if you spawn the moving collision circles as top level, even if you offset the damage spawner, the collision shape will spawn at the origin of the world, so then you have to get the parent's global position to effectively place it on top of it, to spawn it at the right position. So okay, so for the direction, do I have to... I don't have a constructor to make a vector from an angle, right? Yeah, you only build vectors from floats, right? So we're going to create a vector from floating point value. Okay. So, hold on. Is there a better way to do it? I can get the flamethrower is going to follow the character's mouse, and the damager is already on the flamethrower, so actually I can work instead of getting the parents. I was going to create the direction vector from the parent's rotation in radians, so you can do that with ACOS and like the arc periodic functions to get Cartesian coordinates from polar coordinates if you want, but you can do it in a simpler way. You get the local mouse position and you normalize it. Does it work at this point? So it's going to spawn the moving collision circle on the parent. You calculate the direction here, then you set it as top level, so it gets reset to the origin of the world, and you set the position back to the parent, that is to say the damager spawner, so it's going to stick it back to the parent. Let's see if it works. I'm going to add physics process and we can test it in another scene. So physics process. In physics process, we're going to set the position. Yeah, I shouldn't use global position anyway. Position plus equals speed times direction times delta. And the speed is going to be owner.speed, because your flamethrower is going to have some speed value as well. So let's add a script on the flamethrower as well. Export float speed like that, and we're going to set it to, I think our velocity was 400 on the particles. So the point is here to kind of separate these values is that when you instantiate the flamethrower elsewhere, you're only going to see this, the speed. And later, when we change the speed, we can update the particles material and the particle speed. We can update the damage spawner and moving collisions, well, the moving collision circle speed as well. So I'm using the owner property here, which is available on all, is it node? Yeah, it's node. So the owner is the parent of the scene the node belongs to. In this case, it's going to be the flamethrower. Even if you grab your flamethrower and you put it somewhere else, like my fireball test scene. So I have my fireball test scene, and if I instantiate the flamethrower here, anywhere, doesn't matter. The owner property on the moving collision circle is still going to be the flamethrower in this case. Okay, that's an improvement I've also made to the finite state machine. You'll see maybe some of that in a moment, like as soon as the weapons are done. Anyway, the weapon is going to be a finite state machine, so we're going to look at that in a few moments. Right now it was just the fireball thrower, but it's going to become a little more than that. Okay, so let's have a fireball thrower. So that's the one. Let's try. Let's see if I can do that for now. So instead, yeah, I'm gonna have the flamethrower here, and on the script I'm going to do some input management here. So then I'll move things around, I'll refactor, but to start with, if no, I don't want it on input. I want to listen to input continuously, because for as long as you click, you want the flamethrower to emit, and when you release the click, you want it to stop emitting. Yeah, so I guess the input event function is good in this case. So if event that is action pressed, and we're going to have click. Whoa, why don't you? It's because I'm not in the flamethrower scene, I guess. Whoa, why don't you autocomplete here? And mouse right, that I want, not click right. Event pressed. Can I? Do I have is action? I think it's only an event that is action. Oh, come on, I'd just like to get some auto completion. Yeah, okay. So if mouse right is pressed, so when you start clicking, you start emitting. Okay, let's write that like that. And in the other case, if is action released, then we're going to set emitting to false for now, even though we need a little more code than that. But yeah, so that's the effect we should get from that. I'm starting with visual feedback, and then we're going to have an active property here on the flamethrower that's going to deactivate the damager spawner and the particles at the same time. So damager spawner is gonna have an emitting property just like the particles. It works in a similar way. And we're going to move down through the hierarchy to stop everything. Okay, that's enough for testing. Oh no, we need something more important than that, on process, or let's use physics process maybe, because we have an area 2D in there, so rotation is equal to get local mouse position dot not rotated. So this is dot angle. Yes. Let's try and see if it works. Collision shape 2D is not a node. Collision shape 2D is a node, inherits from node, and tells me it doesn't have an owner. Did I forget the onReady keywords somewhere? So hold on. I forgot the onReady keyword. That's why. Get index based on null instance. Yeah, sure. It's the child, right? So it gets added before the parent. There shouldn't be a moving circle at the start. Okay, let's just hard code it for now, and we'll fix that later. So my flamethrower is rotating with the mouse. We're going to go to the fireball test scene. Excuse me for not looking at the chat too much. Works well. Hold on. Yeah, you can create a rotated vector. Good. Hi, Noodle. I'm using the stable version. Not the latest, actually, but I'm using the stable version. Hold on. Why is the angle messed up here? Base rotation is okay. Local mouse coordinates should give me the right angle. Because as I rotate the node. It's interesting. As you rotate the node, the local mouse coordinates change. I didn't think about that. So get global mouse position minus global position, and we get the angle of that. Let's see if it works a little better. Yeah, all good. We've got our flamethrower. Okay, so right now, the only thing is I haven't tested the emission. Normally when I release, the flamethrower should stop. So also throwing fireballs, right? Welcome to the most stupid game of the jam. So by default, first should not be emitting. Okay, first we don't want to emit anything in a flamethrower. Let's see if it works. Okay. But when I click, it's right click, I'm stupid. And I release. Yeah, I was using the wrong click. That's why. Okay. So now we have this base. We're going to do a few things. First, I'm going to create a generic script for particles that is going to toggle emitting on and off on the particles and on their children. So something that would add an active property or something. Let me head to the particles for the flamethrower in this case. And I want to find the scene in the tree. From where can I do that? Open an editor, okay, but I want to find you in the scene tree. Okay, I can't do it from there, right? So I think it's this scene. All right, so we're going to create a general general script. Where do I put it? The effects, particles, toggle, maybe something like that to start with. So this particles toggle will have an active switch, and is equal to, well, let's export it as a boolean so we can control it from the inspector. It's going to be true by default, set get, set active, and this way we don't need the ready function, however we need our set active setter. So set active value, we assign the value to the variable, and then for child in get children, get class is particles to the, just in case we have a, I don't know, a timer or something on as a child of our particles. We're going to continue, and then child dot emitting is equals to false, and emitting is equal not to false but to value. Okay, and that's it. It should work now. So if I use my particles toggle, I have to set it as a tool script for it to work in the editor. You can see that the point of this script is to turn everything active and inactive, so emitting and not emitting all at once. So if I click again on the inspector, you can see when I turn my active property off, emitting turns off on the flamethrower, but also on the tiny sparkles. That's the entire point of this script, so that we can reuse it on any layered particle system. And as you polish the game, the chances are you're going to layer multiple systems together, so you may have 3 or 4 particles 2D node to achieve a given fire effect in this case. That's why I'm adding that small script, so that now inside my flamethrower, I know that my particles have an active property. So instead of particles.emitting, I can replace it by particles.active, and I shouldn't get these small sparkles anymore. So you can see I have 2 particle systems emitting from my flamethrower, and when I release the right click, both stop. Okay. And so now, instead of working on the particles here, I'm going to work on this one node. Let's see. So I'm going to copy some of the particles toggle code, have something similar on the flamethrower. I'm also going to close all the other tabs so it's a little clearer here. And yeah, let's try and work that way. Let me check the chat for a second. Is there a signal when emission starts and ends on the particles? No, I think it's not the case. That's one of the small limitations, let's say, on the particles. You have to define a signal like this one yourself. Yes, particles, particle 2D have no signals. So you can add it with a script, but, you know, like I have my active property now, so I could have a signal where you tell you emit a signal like set active. It was set active or something like that, or set inactive. Okay, so something similar, but I want to get... Okay, so active is equal to value and particles dot active is equal to value. Small function, but that way I can not access my particles, but set self.active instead. And I don't need the ready function anymore because I have my active property, which is going to be false by default. So I have now a new property active on the flamethrower that I can set. I'm going to put it at the top, by the way, in the inspector. And I have a small set active function because we need to set the particles and the damage spawner active at this point. So same thing, and here I want to set it on the particles, and damager spawner.active is equal to value. So damager spawner is also going to have something similar, an active property. Like that, with a set active function, and we're going to set to the value, something like that. Okay. And so this one, yeah, I'll have to test it later, but you can see how I use a lot of scripts and they are fairly small. And this may seem messy as you're watching it, as I'm working, but I can assure you that working that way saves you a lot of time in the long run, because every script is more or less, if possible, self-contained. Sometimes you need to interface, like in the case of the flamethrower, it's a little messy because, you know, I have to make multiple objects communicate together. But the thing is, I can reuse any of these nodes anywhere in the game. So I can reuse that particle script to set layered particles on and off. The damager spawner can spawn any type of collision shape. That's the point from the very start. So it can spawn a moving circle, but it could spawn a moving square or whatever. Same thing, the fact that I have a script on my moving circle, I can copy and paste that script on any shape, on any collision shape, and it's going to work. It's going to spawn a shape that moves, regardless of what it is. And the damager spawner, it can spawn areas around it, or, you know, it doesn't have to spawn objects right on top of it. Right? You could add a special damager spawner that has a generate area or generate spawn position function that you can override, and so you can reuse that base script and have a function that's going to generate positions to spawn the colliders on. Like, and how can I say, when you do something like that, you can reuse procedural generation functions to spawn objects in a helix shape or something like that. You know, spawn objects in a circle, things like these. Let's see, do we have any other messages? Yeah, you can use a timer as well. This is what I'm doing with I have one, the explosion works that way, because when you, yeah, okay, what did I do? Oh, I'm on the wrong scene. It's not going to work. Value. Because I'm, yeah, okay. It's trying to set active at the start of the game. Why doesn't it work? It sets active. What's the matter? Line 8, it's saying there's no particles. Because it does it before. Yeah, it does it at init time, right? How do I do that? The nodes are still not in the tree at that point. Let me think. Setters automatically set before ready, always. They initialize the individual objects, I think, before they are added to the tree. So when you when you use the setter and getter, you get that effect. Does already work? Let's see. No. No. Can't add onReady. No, the setter will be called from the start. So one way to do it is to do, yeah, but the point is, okay, so we're not going to have a property, and we're going to call setActive manually. And there we go. Problem solved. It's just going to be a function then, a method. setActive false by default. Active is equal to value, particles at active, blah 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 blah. And so that way, well, we need a ready function in this case. Set active false, and yeah, we won't even store this active. Do we want to store it? Do we want to retrieve it from somewhere? I think not. I think not. So okay, let's have set active. On ready we set active to false, and based on the input we set the flamethrower active or not. Yeah, you can use an if statement, so you can check if the object has a given node. But if I can remove properties and checks like these, I'd rather do that. Keep the code as simple as possible, especially as it's meant to be an open source example in the end. Yeah, you know. So yeah, for the explosion, I'm using a timer, by the way, to make the explosion like play until the end. You know, it's pretty ugly at the moment, but the idea is just to have some visual feedback when you're firing the attack. The charge is too long, it's really not satisfying. Charge threshold 5, and I need some visual feedback for the charge as well. So as I said, the first prototype is the toy. The most important part of the game is going to be the feel of the weapons, beyond the balance between having your character get heated up, walking on water ponds to cool down, you know. That's going to be the temperature balance mechanic to prevent you from using attacks too much, and each attack should have a really distinct advantage. It's going to be the biggest challenge here to make the charge fireball worth it. So the charge fireball maybe will be the only one with an area of effect, and the base fireball will not explode at the end. I should note that, by the way. So moderate damage by holding click. Takes some time. Okay, takes some time. Travels faster. Travels faster than the fireball. AoE. Does it just travel faster, or? So for some time you are stuck when you use that attack. Not too much, but compared to using fireballs, maybe it will prevent the character from moving as you are charging. it has some anticipation. Okay, prevents. Flamethrower slows down the character movement, low damage, but I said large arc, but movable. So you can rotate as you use the flamethrower, and for small enemies it will be an ideal effect. Radiate fire damages enemies all around the character, allows and increases heat quickly. I said heat, but I should use the temperature keyword, really. Okay, so this is my design document, by the way. So although you have the prototype here, you know, I have some notes at the bottom of the document. I should really add maybe prototypes, and this is the concept, so I can organize everything a little more easily. Okay, and I have my to-do list here. Okay. Game is top-down or platformer? It's going to be top-down. Whoa, it's been 1 hour already? Almost? Give me a second, by the way. I'm gonna head to the bathroom. Should really have a label here. So, be right back. And we need some font. I'm going to use the usual Montserrat. Black. Reads well. Copy and paste it in the project. So interface and interface. Where is it? Fonts. Create a custom font here. Uppercase. I'll be right back. Okay, bathroom break. What are you writing in? What do you use for writing? Looks very nicely color-coded. So I'm using Emacs with the Spacemax distribution and org mode. Yeah, so that's a really complex program. I don't recommend it to everyone, but you know, that's what I use for programming and everything. And that's it. I'll be right back. See you. And I am back. Not going to keep the stream for too long, I think. Because I'm a bit smashed today, a little tired. Well, it's been a long week, right? General. Okay, so the label. Let's save you as at the top or be right back. So that way we can instantiate it anytime. You can hear me, right? No problem. I'm back. We are back. We are live. Is that a thing? Okay, flamethrower scene. Fireball test has the flamethrower emitting. So I don't want it to emit by default, maybe. Okay, all good. You are live with video and audio. Wow, incredible. Internet technologies. Okay, so we've got two different nodes for the flamethrower, the fireball thrower. The flamethrower is working, we only need... there's not the damager area part working now, right? So let's have visible collision shapes. I'm going to hide the fireball thrower for now. For our bad boy, the flamethrower, I'm going to do a little more work. So one issue is the damager spawner can be active or not. But for now, it doesn't emit node. So let's add a timer that's going to tick every point something second. So every time it has to emit a collision circle, O2 should be nice enough. So spawn timer, let's call it that way, in the damager spawner, and it's going to use that spawn timer when it's active. So in the set active function, I set physics process on or off based on the flamethrower, essentially. When the flamethrower is off, it turns off the particles, but also the damager spawner, so it stops spawning moving collision circles. But it only sets physics process off here because the collision circles will manage themselves. So let's add our physics process function, and on physics process, we're going to, well, no, it's not going to work that way. I don't need a physics process function, just need a timeout from the timer. So when spawn timer times out, we are going to create a new, okay, vaccine. Sure. Collider. Let's call you Collider. Okay, we can remove that. Collision node. We're going to create an instance of the collider. We're going to set it up so okay, so we're using the local mouse position already. So we instantiate it and we add it as a child, and that's it. Okay. Yeah, there's nothing else to do. Is that it? Set active then is going to start and stop the timer. So spawn timer that if value is true, it's false, well, you could just check if active. I think it's a little better. If active, you start the timer. If you turn the node inactive, you stop the timer, and there you go. We should have the damage spawner working with just these few extra lines. Let's check that. Ah, sure. Same problem. Ah. Same problem with the setter. Okay, so let's use a signal. What? What's the matter? Okay. I guess I'm just gonna do it this way, so for now, let's do it this way. Should do the trick. Ah, I haven't set my collider. True. So where is my flamethrower shape? Moving collision circle. Hold on. Yeah, right here. There we go. Save. Okay. So at the moment, setting the move direction doesn't work. Let's look at the chat right away. Am I crazy, or you don't have a spawn timer node? There's one. It's right here. Now the problem is when you use a setter function, it's going to call the function before the game is ready, before all the nodes are ready. You don't need to export active either. Yeah, sure. Actually, best not export it. I don't even need an active variable. Actually, I just need a, well, I'm using active, so I can call it, like, use the property from the flamethrower, but okay, so no moving. The first moving collision circle moves in a given direction, but after that, get local mouse position dot normalized. Let's try it this way. I'm just going to okay, so I'm going to try this one, as you said, the rotated get parent dot angle. Let's see if it works. It doesn't have, wait. It doesn't have an angle, rotation. Yeah, as you can hear, it's noon. It's close to 11, actually. Why doesn't it follow the direction? Speed times direction times delta. Let me just check this. What am I doing wrong here? Get parent rotation. Okay, so what's the matter? When I because when I yeah, okay. Sorry, I see now. Problem is the damager spawner rotates with the parent, but the rotation is still 0. But one thing I'm more surprised about is getting the local mouse position normalized compared to this node doesn't work. So what about get global mouse position dot normalized? Now it works. Okay, so maybe it still sets it at as top level in a way that I wouldn't expect. So okay, this is going to have a bar lifetime and 0.4, something like that. And at the start we're going to generate a timer, so I'm going to use the create timer function here. So timer for lifetime duration dot connect self first is the signal, so timeout to this object, and we're going to call Q3. So note that there's absolutely no optimization in the code, right? At the moment. Why doesn't it work anymore? Okay, so for the lifetime 1.0, 1 second, or I don't know exactly. The lifetime will be set from the flamethrower, by the way. Why does it work? So in the flamethrower scene, it seems to be working fine. Getting the global mouse position to get the rotation. No, it didn't work at all. Okay, because my global mouse position is still, it's pointing down from here. So I can calculate, I can use a difference to calculate the angle. So to get a vector pointing towards the mouse, I'm going to get mouse minus global position dot normalized. There you go. So that's a way to get the local mouse position manually, and now it works. So there you go. A flamethrower in a game works like that. You emit those small balls, and if they hit something, they damage it. That's it. And you have a flamethrower. Can make the circles a little larger, just to make sure that you hit things more easily. One of the issues with that is you can see the particles, because they get emitted more frequently, they're going to look and feel like they are hitting their target. Like the flamethrower is going to feel like it's lagging behind, like the damage areas, especially if you start to rotate quickly like that. Okay, so then you've got to code it so that first you emit maybe more damage areas if you are rotating fast, and you also want to make the areas large enough so that you can hit the target more easily. Let's go back to the moving collision circle, increase it a little bit in radius, and we've got our flamethrower. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's way too big now, but maybe it would work actually. And it does need maybe to move a little faster than. Maybe the speed on the collider will need to be a little faster than on the particles. Well, was it 500 on the particles? I don't remember, but Yeah, it's a tiny bit better. So you can cheat a bit on the damage areas, right? You can make them move a little faster than the main weapon, the main attack, but there we go. So now I've got the fireball thrower. It's going to throw out fireballs. You can see the colliders stay. Right now the fireballs don't get destroyed completely, but that's fine. For testing, right now it's not too big of a problem. And we can also emit fire with the flamethrower. So we've got 3 of the game's 4 weapons, and the last one is probably the simplest to create. It's the radiate one. Hold on, let me check the chat as well. Can you scale the collision circle over time to fake a damage cone? Yeah, that's the problem. Is the shape, the circle, actual circle in the node is a resource, and because of that, if you update it, it's going to update the shape on all the objects. So you've got to make sure that each of the moving collision circles have a new shape, a different one. Now, yeah, scaling, so you can say you're going to scale the node. Does it work now? So in Godot 2 you could not. I think in Godot 3 you can now. I think this was fixed, but yeah, you can scale, maybe you can scale the shape here. Yeah, but anyway, if you want to create a cone, you should be able to scale the object. Okay, let's set you back here. We're all good. Okay, so we have the flamethrower, and I'm gonna have a new node 2D as well, I guess, and you are going to be radiate fire. I didn't create a scene for that, so just going to place it at the same position as the others for now. I don't want the same script though. And save you in the radiate fire folder. It's not here. It's in weapons, radiate fire, .tscn. All right. So our radiate fire node is going to work similarly to the others. The main difference here is, so it's going to have an area as a child to damage the enemies. Hold on, I have an area damager scene, right? The weapon here, damager as a child, and this is gonna have a collision shape 2D plane one that doesn't move. Let's use a circular area. Or do we have ellipse? We have capsule. Let's see. To give the effect a little bit of depth. Let's try with a collision circle, and I do have the radiate fire particles already. There we go. And there we go. That's it. It's done. So now we need some code to make the damager tick. I'm not sure how to best do it. So this one, the way damaging works right now in the game is the other nodes. It's the other node's job to detect that something hit them, and not the damager. The damager is just an area placed somewhere. So I think in order to make it work, we'll have to make it like that, non-monitorable, or hide and clack, come back, like tick again. So yeah, it's going to have a timer that's going to tick every like every time you want it to hit something, the timer is going to tick. So every 0.2 seconds, 0.3. Too fast. 0.4, 0.5. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to use the timer to show the shape for maybe 0.1 second. So just to explain, areas, often you use the on body entered or on area entered signal. These work that way. It's the very frame where the area and another area overlap. You get that signal emitted from the areas, right? Now the problem is, if the areas stay on the screen like that and they keep overlapping and they move inside one another, nothing else happens because you already entered. You have to exit the area and then to re-enter it to get the signal emitted again. So when you animate a sword hitting, you've actually got to stop and hide the area and show it again on the next attack, right? And you need one frame for the other area to process that the sword or weapon disappeared, and then it comes back. Otherwise, you've got to write more custom logic with get overlapping areas and bodies, but you've got the signals to get precise collision detection, so you want to use that if you can. So the damager, in our case, we only needed to tick every 0.5 seconds, let's say. So we can show the damager for 0.1 second, then hide it, and then it's going to show again after 0.5 seconds, etc. So I'm going to connect the timer node to the damager, but I do want to create a new script for you, my beauty. So let's remove the script. We're going to call you ticking damager. Add a ticking damager script. We're going to save you as well somewhere as a it's already an instance, right? Yeah, instance. So discard instancing first, and we're going to call you ticking damager. And it should inherit from damager as well. Well, it doesn't matter for now. We just save it as a scene. It's easy enough to clean that up later. We're going to save it in the weapons. For now, I'll give you a new script. So okay, and this one wanted to inherit from damage source. Okay, so now we can connect the timer. Geez, after that I'm going to go out and buy one of these small yet delicious donuts. You can't imagine. There's one shop where make donuts the old school way. Can just call get overlapping areas on timeout. No, the problem is you can't do that, as I explained or tried to explain. The ticking damager doesn't do anything. It just exists. It doesn't detect collisions. It's the bodies, like the characters and the monsters, that are going to detect hits in the game. And there are a few reasons for that. If you work from the ticking damager and you have to send the attack to the other character, you kind of couple the nodes a little bit. Even emitting signals is, you have to do connections at the start of the game, so connect with remote parts of the tree and all, and I prefer to avoid that, so that's why I do it on the character node. It makes sense for me for the character to take the damage, even though it could also make sense for the damager to inflict the damage, right? Okay, so ticking damager, we're going to connect node timeout from the timer here, and we're going to how do we do that? Is hiding enough? I'm not sure. Let's go like that. Monitorable equals true. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to have a set. We can disable actually a collision shape. Yeah. I don't remember if setting the visibility is enough. I'll do it this way. Okay, let's have a little helper function. Set active again. And okay, let's do it this way. Okay. Okay, so when the timer times out, we set active to true, and we create a timer. 0.1 seconds, and we're going to connect it to the timeout signal, to self, and to set active. False. Okay, let's do it this way for now. Can't I use yield for that? Can I yield for a given amount of time? Object, no. Or return the call to some, yeah. Okay, so let's keep this simple with the create timer function. Should work. Alright, that should more or less do the job. I'll have to try it later, but now we can add our radiating fire to fireball test scene. The radiate fire is also going to be in the center there. And it needs some script to set it active and inactive, so let's create our radiate fire script. Taking damage, same thing, wanted. Because right now it's going to keep ticking. I've got to add a little more code to control the ticking damager, setting it active or not. Because even if you toggle the visibility off here, I think it's still going to hit things and damage them. So radiate fire. I'm going to have some same code as I had in some other places, like have setter, well, have set active function actually. Where did I use that already? I don't remember. Set active here. Well, it's a setter as well. Okay, let's create a variable as well. Taking damage. We want to set. So radiate fire dot emitting is equal to value. Okay, we're going to keep things simple. Taking damage dot active is equal to value. Okay, let's do it this way. And if you don't have radiate fire node, we're going to return from here. Okay, keep things simple, although a little messy to start with. Okay, so normally this should be enough to hide the node at the start. No, it doesn't. Set active equals false. Normally. Set active is false by default, but how come visible doesn't work here? The joy of game development. Bite Size saying he has trouble working with trouble making a game after, like coding it from scratch, and he's saying I've watched so many videos and copied exactly everything. It's still wrong. That's exactly the problem. The problem is that you have watched and copied too many videos, but programming is a creative problem-solving activity, so you've got to take the time to learn to solve your own problems, and it's only at that point that you can, how can I say? Yeah, visible has to be on ready, right? Because then it gets added to the tree. And okay, let's just use set active and on ready. Set active. False. Okay. So by just copying. By just trying to copy tutorials, you're going to stay stuck until you ticking damage. It has a set active method as well. Hold on. Trying to code and yeah, okay. So I'm going to add that active property. Ticking damager. Okay, so in general, a setter should not access anything outside the node. Right, it should only work on itself. So yeah, to make games, you've got to anyway be ready to face problems. I do, even if I have more experience now. Like generating bugs, for example, is a daily activity for developers. Later on, you also see that as a developer, a lot of the work becomes about reading as the projects scale. So you will spend the saying is that you spend 90% of your time reading and trying to make sense of other people's code, reading APIs, and also that's things like searching in the docs and all, to find solutions to the problems you have. Because as the projects grow bigger, you've got to spend more and more time thinking about how you architecture them. You know, right now, this is the start of the project, so I'm adding lots of script, then I'm going to put them in subfolders and all, and then slowly, as you get to connect them all together, you start to build complexity, and you have to think of how you can split them, which is quite abstract as well. You know, it's it's quite a bit of work. It takes a lot of thinking. Programming takes a lot of thinking, especially if you work alone, because you've got to make decisions on how you structure your projects, how you split objects up, how you that's why I also spend time naming them, you know, every time, and I teach that. It's very important to design your projects so that you can come back to them even after a few days when you have 100 different objects in a game, and that's not a lot for a game. Finding everything starts to be, if you put everything in one folder, which I see people do all the time, it's impossible to edit the project after a few days. You come back and you're like, oh my god, it's horrible. And refactoring at that point also becomes very hard. But yeah, you've got, if you want to make your own games, you've got to take a step back from the tutorials and try to learn more general programming techniques. And unfortunately, a lot of beginner level tutorials don't help you do that. I try to do that with GDQuest, but the problem is you have to also, like, it depends a lot on the student, so you have to go get the official demos, read the code, make sense of them, build projects on top of the base demos, you know, learn to work with other people's code, and you will get a better understanding of your code, how to structure projects. You have to try to understand why people write codes in a certain way, learn to become critical about that as well. You know, there's a lot to do, to be fair, but just keep going, take your time, and slowly you will manage to make your game. And you have also to keep at it. Like, when you are working on a game, you have to push it for a few hours, push through the bugs, fix them, etc. Spend at least, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 hours on your first projects, right? Of focused work, so that you can push through a few bugs and find solutions to a few problems. Then you can, if you're learning, you can move to the next project, and as you grow, you can make your projects a bit longer as well, you know, so that you get to face new problems as projects scale up, because new problems arise. What was I looking at? Is it okay now? It stops the radiate fire. Okay, so radiate fire is gonna be with double click. So and note something interesting. A lot of people tend to put all their input listening into one object, and put all the logic, like for the character, in one GDScript file. And for the weapons, I'm really separating them as separate nodes at the moment, and each of them manages their input, right? You can work that way. It works pretty well. So that way you can really keep them very separate. Although later I think I'm going to have a state machine maybe, and have all the input on the state machine node, just so that it's not on the individual weapons. In case you want to change the control mappings or things like these, you don't want them to be hard-coded inside individual nodes and have to go look for them. But to start with, it does the job. So, okay, radiate fire. If... no, we can't use input for this one. We're going to use physics process or process. Or process is fine. Is action action pressed, and we're looking for mouse left. We're going to set active. It's true. Very dirty for now. But it'll get us started. And yeah, here's the reason why. Here's the reason why you need a different script in this case. Forgot about it, but if you're starting to have some logic, like I need some logic for. Basically, I only want to radiate fire if I'm clicking with both the left and the right mouse button, and I don't want the flamethrower and the fireball in this case. I don't want to charge the fireball either. Yeah, I was going to make a simple game. I should have stopped at the fireball, but from the start, I've decided to use multiple attacks, which is a little stupid. Okay, but let's call radiate done. We need one last task here. Remove input conflicts. Move. So I'm going to have a script to manage the input and the state of the weapon switcher in a sense. So I have some finite state machine here. But for now, I'm feeling a little chaos, so I'm going to stop the stream. I will probably stream tomorrow or again today. I have an appointment later, so yeah, I'm limited in time for this game jam. I think I'll see. I'll post it on Twitter if I stream again today. If I have something different and interesting to show, like maybe working on the UI or something like that, because now we've worked a bit with collision, attacks, particles. That should be interesting. Mariano says, in other words, to make your own games, you need practice. Yeah, but you need a lot of practice and focus practice. But what I meant to say is you need to you really need to be careful with step-by-step tutorials. You have to learn to extract techniques from the tutorials, like generalize the techniques you learn from the tutorials, and you've got to find good tutorial sources where people just don't show you only step-by-step, like how to do things in a mindless way, because you've got to learn about object orientation, for example, if you want to work with Godot. I have a series on that's in the making, but I'm working on other tutorials at the moment. Look out for that, because these articles are going to be quite important as well. Are you still in Japan? Yes, I am. So at home right now. And there are some people coming from work right now. So yeah, this is I live in Nara, the city of the deers. Okay, that's it. Time to stop the stream. Thank you very much for joining. And yeah, this game will be open source at the end of the jam, so you can have some fun with it, reuse the assets and all. That's it. Have a good day, and see you later. Bye-bye.